And we're here this afternoon to engage in part two of Securing Our Future. Last week, we brought a number of kids, probably 200 plus kids, to the convention center to start what we believe is a very important conversation about police community relations, particularly youth and police community relations. As we're all aware, there are endless events around our country which bring us together to discuss this very important issue. Most recently, since we actually met last week, we've had yet another event in Texas, which reminds us of the importance of this discussion that we're having here in our city. Yesterday afternoon, I spent a couple of hours with the mother of an 18-year-old male who was also involved in a police shooting. He was injured in that shooting. Discussing some issues around transparency and the information that she could receive as a parent of someone who was involved in a critical situation like that. I was pleased to be able to report to her today that there are some very concrete changes happening around transparency and police incidents in our city. Shooting reports, other information is now being released by our police department in order to help the public understand what's going on in policing. But mostly I want to thank everyone here, our police and our youth, for engaging in this very important conversation. We still have a lot of work to do, but this is a very important beginning and a first step to beginning to understand what some of those issues are and beginning to heal that rift here in our community. Today we're going to hear the results of what you told us last week. What are those important issues and how we're going to move forward? But again, I'd like to thank everyone for participating in this conversation and encourage you to continue to do so as we move forward with improving that rift here in our city. Reform in policing is only going to happen if we're all at the table and working together. And this is the beginning of that process. Thank you.
Good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, depending on what time it is and everything else that happens. My name is Everett Gillison. I am the Mayor Nutter's Chief of Staff. I'm also the Deputy Mayor for Public Safety. I want to do a couple of things. One, I always serve as a person who stands in for the mayor when he is not available, and the mayor today is in Colorado attending something and wanted me to make sure that I personally appeared on his behalf to say thank you for what you have been doing, thank you for what you will continue to do, because this is a dialogue that is not just a one and done, but something that we have been doing for many years. But we're getting it organized, and I think we should be raising the visibility of all the work that has been done for the past number of years. So I want to say thank you on behalf of Mayor Nutter to each of you for what you've done. So that's number one. Number two, depending on how you define youth, some of us have never grown up, and will still think that even though we have gray hair, we're still young, because we still believe that you are only old when you become unable to change or unable to change. And so I hope I never have that focus that we would never be able to change. So I hope that we are all remaining young at our hearts and young in our spirit, so that we can embrace a different way of approaching life and approaching the relationships we have in life. That's number two. And the third one is I want to say thank you to all the people that made and continue to make this happen. We have come a long way with all of the various programs that the city has, whether you're going to talk about My Brother's Keeper and Christine and all of her work with the staff that I'm blessed to have working with me in the mayor's office, but also to have Cities United folks. I know Erica's not here, but to be able to say that we've tried to bring the idea that too many people are dying in the city, whether they are dying at the hands of one group or another. Violence is still wrong, no matter how you look at it. And third, to the officers that are here, because you are role models. When we started talking initially, the police commissioner and I, when we met back in 2007, 2008, I had a particular background, he had a background, and when we sat down and said we were going to be working together for a number of years, the one thing that we found in common is that we had to get police in a mindset to be persons who were going to stand in the breach. I come out of a tradition that allows me to speak in a particular way. You can't build relationships behind walls. You have to see people where they are. You have to encounter them where they are. And you can't do that in a police vehicle going 45 miles an hour answering phone calls or answering distress calls. So the only way that you're going to end up being known is to take the time to see people. And when I say see people, I mean really encounter them where they are. Because then they touch you in a different way. And then for police, something that I knew because I've been in this area for over 30 years, the police actually then start talking to each other. Because until you've actually worn the uniform, you really don't understand the pressures that they have on them. But if they can get to see the person and then see their brother and sister officers talking about what they have truly encountered for the people that they've truly met and not just brushed by, but talked to, now you're going to change the force. So I want to say thank you to everyone, young, old, black, white, Hispanic, hearing, non-hearing, everybody, blind, not, because we all are needed to be in this dialogue. And it cannot just be a one and done. It has to continue. We've done some great work in this city. We should not apologize for the fact that there are more people alive today in our city than we had statistically had any right to believe would be alive had the trends continued prior to our being here. But on the other hand, we can never forget that we still have a long way to go. So with that, I think that if we understand that and embrace the fact that we are committing ourselves anew to continuing the dialogue, I think that's where we will ultimately see the progress that we want. So once again, thank you for being here. I've read at least the summary of the Securing Our Future. I will tell you, I am not surprised by what I have seen and heard. I think that it's because everybody wants to be respected. And I think that if I could just not have to deal with all the problems that come across my table, 9 times out of 10, it's because people are not respecting one another. I had another issue I got this morning. It involved an attorney going down to the 24th. And just somebody just not involving and just speaking to somebody out of respect, but rather in a derogatory way. And I've always said something that was said to me very early on. If you happen to have a certain type of belief, sometimes they say, people may not understand the good book that you might read, but they will understand what they see. And if they only see something bad coming from you, then they must believe the only book you reading is something bad, because that's what you reflect. I think that we have to be the kind of change we're supposed to be. I know that's something that the president ran on, but we are the change we need to be to go forward. So thank you, and I'm going to be very interested in listening to the dialogue that continues today. Thank you.
So first, let me begin this process. I am so thankful to Rue, where she at? Cece's over at the door from Department of Human Relations, and when we first had this conversation some time ago about getting young people together and having a dialogue and having a conversation about what's going on. I wasn't sure if we pull it off. You know, there was some questions as to, you know, Rue is moving so fast, we gotta have this meeting, gotta get these kids in here. If anybody knows how she is, keep her away from caffeine. And so I said, yeah, are we going to do this? But we've been building a relationship over the last year and a half of having a conversation and dialogue with Department of Human Relations about what we can do and what are the things we go. So we kind of started this process well before the issues that started to come over the last year and building that relationship. And from that was spawned an idea, and I got in the room, and I know Jennifer was there, and Kelvin was there, and other folks were in the room to kind of start talking about how we can make this happen. I know Christine from My Brother's Keeper came on board, and Randy at the helm, and it actually happened. You know, all too often I go to these meetings, and we talk a good talk, and we say a lot of good things, and people get up and say all these things, but nothing ever happens. But then they started hitting me with these emails and said, man, this thing is happening. I said, oh my God. And then a week ago, I walk into a room with so many young people. And for those who know, as part of my second life is in the world of being with young people and what I can do to make a difference. And to walk in the room and see many of you here, I told them I'm watching my buddy over here from last week, and we had a good time last week, is really, really saying, you know, are they going to give me something? Or is this going to be another one of those processes where people get in and do a lot of talking? And then I get this packet. I said, oh my God, they pulled it off. Now, I did tell Rue, I'm declining all your recommendations because I had such a good time last week, I think I want to go back and do it over again. But the deputy mayor hit it on point. You know, a lot of the things you hit here, you could have been a part of the expansive committee, our collaborative reform committee. You could have easily been part of the 21st century policing report that came out because you hit the mark. You know, as I glanced through the report, there was nothing that stunned me. But what I felt was very, not unique, but so important. It said not only what the police can do, but what the community can do. It is community policing, not policing community, right? And so all too often we miss that kind of dynamic that we are the community. Our power and our charge comes from the community. I have a group of young officers up here who get it. And when you hear their conversations, you'll be surprised of how they'll tell you how they view what they do, and they do an outstanding job. I have two of my commanders here, Inspector Washington and Captain Cappy, George Cappy, who also get it. They understand the role you play and the role you will continue to play. Oh, and I'm sorry, I saw you, but you came late, Captain Francis, so now that I see you over there with your hands, and Captain Francis, who just took over command in South Philly, who's doing a phenomenal job. And when I see the slogan, securing our future, you get it. You know, and so I'm just so phenomenally proud of all the men and young people in this room today. I know you're a subset of the bigger group, and all those who were participating in this process, that you would take the time, the thoughtful time, to put your words down on paper so we can put things into action. You know, so I, on behalf of Commissioner Ramsey, who could not be here, and Commissioner Ross, are so phenomenally prepared to take your recommendations, fold them into the process we have now, and move forward with hopefully obtaining many of them that you have. I would ask that you, as you wrote that thing, though, that you continue to be a part of the process, because I'm going to be counting on each and every one of you to be a part of our team now, to make sure we do what we're supposed to do and get it done the way we're supposed to get it. Fair enough? All right, so thank you, everyone.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Lance Carter from North Philadelphia, and I'm very excited to participate in this discussion today. On behalf of all the students and the members of the community that came out to the Secure Our Future event last week, I would like to say that the event was a great opportunity for us to voice our opinions, our concerns, and solutions pertaining to the relationships between our youth, our communities, and our police department. I can say that we strongly agree and we strongly feel that this is a great step forward and it's a pivotal piece to the puzzle when it comes to a better Philadelphia and better relationships between all of us. So thanks everybody for coming out, and I'm very excited again to be a part of the discussion.
Okay, so good afternoon. My name is Randy Duque. I'm the Deputy Director with the Community Relations Division of the Philadelphia Commission on Human Relations. And I'm going to lead a facilitated dialogue on, based on the summary of recommendations the youth had generated at last week's summit. Basically what I'm going to do, just so everyone can hear various perspectives on the report, are I'm going to have each person basically talk from their perspective on the question that I will ask. All right. Now, for you guys, the first question I'm just going to ask the outer tier. All right. Next question, I'll let you know. Okay. So first of all, I just wanted to, again, thank you for agreeing to participate in today's forum. And these recommendations are based off of over 200 youth who met last week, all focusing on police and community and how they can strengthen the relations with each other. Now what we'll do is, like I said, have a dialogue with young people and officers where I'll ask a few questions, and we want to hear from your own perspective. Right? The purpose of this approach is so that everyone in this room and hopefully beyond will get to hear your thoughts and feeling regarding this important topic, as well as serve as a model for future dialogues, hopefully with more police and youth or police and community related dialogues such as today. Okay? First question is, many youths have said that they understand that there are good cops and bad cops, but there was a general sense that youth and people of color are unfairly targeted and not treated with respect and dignity. What can you do, or people similar to you, whether it be a cop or community member, do to create a more positive perception of community-police relations?
I really see a lot of people really not comfortable with the cops, and they feel like they're running a dirty business, and they're not comfortable enough to really approach them, and people are scared of them. And also, the cops need to really help people progress and communicate with the young people in the area, and not feel so people won't feel so negatively about them. And we see them, we just don't care. We want them to have a better positive view of us.
Some of the things that we're doing already is we're trying to connect with the community on every level. We've connected, we have different programs, we have different organizations. The thing about it is, I think all across the city and all across the board, we can do more training, we can take more, conversations, more open dialogue this way to find out what people really feel about